Welcome back to another Zero Context Patreon Stack. Advertising my Patreon content one out of context theater moment at a time. I started the month up by finishing up the final book of the Cruel World series, Unravel. Then I jumped into the first book of the Wolf by Wolf series, Wolf by Wolf. Finally, I wrapped up the month by starting in on Gentle Warrior. I keep trying to see the weave, she says in a sad voice, but I can't, and he's so disappointed. He's had me examined by doctors and everything. Again, he totally counted his chickens before they hatched, and I love that for him. The dining hall has changed. The large mahogany table that occupied the space when I first came to Coventry is no longer there. Instead, there are rows of individual tables. At each one, a Spencer eats alone. As in the lower studios, every girl is confined to her own space, which keeps them from speaking to one another. Considering that the girl that they tapped to try and be the next Quiller joined the rebellion, I don't think that isolating them is really working out in their favor. A blast rips through the room, knocking me against the table. The crowd erupts in panic, and I look to where Cormac stood seconds ago. He's gone. I also love how, again, Ad has not lifted a finger and stuff is happening without her. There's a lot of harm in it, but not for the person being gossiped about, if you catch my drift. No. Kinda sounds like people are gonna be smack-talking Cormac. Would he seriously disrupt people who go around yapping about how insane he's become? Would people continue to stand by and let him do whatever he wants? But everything about her is wrong. In the light, her pupils are white and black, and that's not even the most frightening thing. The whites of her eyes have gone red, and her skin droops into giant jawls from her jawline. Some of it has detached entirely, and something under the surface ripples. No, crawls. She hisses and wails and laughs as she scratches her fingers across the brick walls. It's as though she's decaying while she's still alive. Not even pretending like this isn't a zombie anymore. Have you ever considered why it is the Guild of 12 Nations? She asks. Buddy, how do you mess up that badly 9 times? After the second time, you should probably be removed from power. The fact that Cormac continued to be in charge 9 freaking times is simply so mind-boggling to me. But then again, as I've been saying this entire time... Why are you my best friend again? He asked her. Wait, Alexandra? Alex? I can't control the volume of my voice. It took you long enough, she says. But Alex is a boy, I said, trying to work through this confusing turn of events. Alex has to be a boy. Why? Eric asks. You grew up together, and Alex works for the guild. I stammer out my answers in spurts of confusion. I'd like to remind everybody that Eric also worked for the guild until you showed up and changed his mind about the entire thing. Things aren't always black and white here. Why does everyone believe I'm the whirl? I ask. Because I can weave and alter? It's not your skills that make you special, it's that you choose to fight. The Kara's agenda calls you the whirl because they needed someone to believe in. All rebellions have men of words, few have men of action, he says as his lips curve into a small smile. You know what? I really like this. I like that she's not some chosen one trademark simply because of an ancient prophecy. She's special because she actively chooses to be special. Eris won't survive, but if we initiate Protocol 3, then we can still save the people, I argue with him. As long as I've known you, you've always acted out of concern for the citizens, even if your methods were a bit warped for my taste. The problem is that she's trying to use empathy on a sociopath. It's already been established that he did away with at least one wife and his children with her. He really doesn't give a hoot about people whose names he doesn't know. Like him, Axe points to the cot. She stopped beside it, turned angrily to the bed, and the sight sucks the breath from me. He's badly injured, a thick wad of gauze around his head, dried blood clotting the outside. I dropped to Joss' side and pushed the hair from his face, revealing the two-tailed marks of battle already scarring along his jaw. He's healing quickly, but the damage is extensive. Joss? My voice is barely a whisper over the pounding of my heart. Boo, you whore! Why the fuck did the narration build up all of this one true love shit with Eric, only to kill him at the end and then have Joss be the sole surviving love interest? Reminding their mothers to produce more strong-blood Aryan children to attend Hitler Youth. Understanding how genetics and recessive genes work is so funny right here, because unless you have a long history of blondness in your family, don't even bother trying to have a baby. That's the only thing that I'm getting from this. We're almost 18, Felix. The worst that can happen to you is that I'll be conscripted as a mechanic for one of the less-born settlements, but I'll be married off or put into the less-born. Adele's fist grew even tighter as she talked about the breeding programs. An ice cube she held slipped out, spinning across towel and floorboard. It came to rest by the closet door. This race is my last chance to escape my fate, to prove that I can serve the Reich as well as any man. But then what? Eventually they'll get tired of you peacocking around and force you to marry and have some Hitler-approved babies. What she's doing is hardly sustainable, and even she knows it. It's an execution. If Hitler dies behind the walls of the chancellery, it will be covered up, made to look like a sudden illness or a bad fall down the stairs. On a slightly lighter note, this is also the setup for the movie Moon Over Parador. If you haven't seen that, it's a really funny movie that I would totally recommend. They start the race, and it's so freaking boring. I honestly don't give a hoot. We're not even a quarter of the way through this stupid book, and it's already throwing this pointless race at us. He then starts trash talking her. However, the conversation has almost a weirdly flirtatious vibe, and I thought that it was me reading a bit too much into things. But for sure, there's something hidden in Luca's relationship with Adele. Something that Yale wouldn't have picked up on since I doubt Luca was around. For sure, they're secret lovers or something. While you've been cocooned up in that Germania flat, I've been at home trying to hold things together, running the garage, trying to get Mama out of bed every day, watching Papa's hair get grayer and grayer. You asked how I got into the race he started. I sold the auto shop, used the money to bribe Dirk Herman and the officials. He complains about how hard of a time that he's been having, but rather than to soldier on and hope that things turn around, he made the situation a billion times worse, not only for himself, but for his family in the future by selling their family's business. Make it make sense, dude. Partisan or not, Felix was a good brother. Adele didn't know what she had. He literally tried to roofie her so that he could take her back home, but go off, I guess. Then, The Fourth Wolf, Aaron Close, Part 1, Autumn 1849. Is it bad that I'm more looking forward to these flashbacks because at least something will happen? Cairo to Baghdad. What is this route even? Germany to Prague to Cairo to Baghdad. Google Maps tells me that Prague to Cairo is 47 hours on the road in modern conditions, mind. Surely there was a better way to do this. 18 hours from Cairo to Baghdad. Even after a few days in Nurse Wilhelmina's attentions. Hey, so why has the nurse traveled all that way simply to continue to tend to the racers? How did she get ahead of them? Did she fly or something? I refuse to believe that there aren't any nurses in Baghdad, or that they wouldn't have put a nurse at each stop to tend to the racers. The Third Reich is rotting from the inside. People are unhappy with the new order, even some in the Führer's closest circles. The resistance has been growing, connecting under the Gestapo's nose. We're strong enough to change things now. Every soul in every city is waiting for the signal to rise up and destroy the new order. And this is why I have such a hard time with these alternate Germany won the war stories, because they all fail to understand stuff like why Germany lost the war in the first place. World War II is so much more than one guy being butthurt over Germany having lost World War I. And if that's your only take on why the war happened at all, then you're already failing as a storyteller in this AU. Yale fished her knife out from her boot as she whispered this. It took a few tries. She had to bend her body at awkward angles, which might have been impossible if Yale hadn't used her skin shifting to lengthen Adele's arms a few centimeters. I think the most insulting part about this is that I feel like there's a really good story to be had about Hitler accidentally creating a shapeshifter in one of his camps, and then said shifter turning around and murdering him for what he did to her. But in this story, being sidetracked with the motorbike race romance, this ain't it. Yale looked back at the window where the stars flickered like dying cigarettes. Again, imagine having a thought, and this is that thought. Mind if, take seat, Frau. Listen, I love a good ellipse as much as the next author. Maybe a little too much, but I'm gonna have to ask you to put some of those back. Defend Tech, be the Valkyrie, be the Valkyrie, what is your choice? Do you know how I was complaining about all of the excess periods in the previous chapter? Yeah, the author totally stole them from here. That was the best option, but it felt wrong to just disappear. Maybe after everything was over, the assassination, the escape, the manhunt, and the war that she was certain to follow, she could find him again. I don't think that she really understands what's going to happen to her. She's going to assassinate a major world leader, Hitler, a dictator, surrounded by his military generals, etc., on live TV, and she thinks that she's going to walk out of there alive. When Yale reached Adele Wolf's room, she crumpled into the fresh linen sheets and slept like the dead. I wish that this book would stop acting like Yale isn't Adele. We get it. She is Adele, according to everybody. Please move on and stop hammering this in. This stupid book is almost over. 6 o'clock. Presentation of the guests. 6:30. Hors d'oeuvres and cocktails. 6:45. Toast. 7 o'clock. Dinner. 8. Dancing. 8:15. Murder. 8:16. Escape. Oh good, let me pencil in the murder and escape. The happy crowds, the elaborate dinner, the pretty blonde girl waltzing with the fierce doppelganger killing him. Mainly I'm flabbergasted that the author would have the gall to write about this kind of nonsense, and yet it wasn't at the forefront of the story. I don't care about the stupid bike race. I want to know about these freaking Nazi shapeshifters. The agonized cry from the leader tore at Elizabeth's heart, and she closed her eyes in distress. The door from the bedroom burst open, and the two guards rushed inside, swords drawn. Fear and confusion showed in their expression. The vassal shook his head and told them to put their weapons away. "Must solicit the services of a nurse and to tend to our leader." Holy fucking shit, why is he screaming like that? Not like the dude bro wasn't left to rot and die in his fucking armor for 3 days or anything. "You belong to me," he repeated. Elizabeth was about to agree when his hand moved as lightning to the back of her neck, his fingers locking forcefully in her hair. "It is I who decide your future," Joffrey stated. "Oh, for crying out loud. Club her over the head and carry her back to the estate, you freaking caveman." Join my Patreon as a free member to access all of the same amazing content you love on Tumblr. However, for only $1 a month, you can join my Patreon and unlock all of this month's book snark, as well as early access to my free daily snark. I'll see you next month, guys.